Welcome to a second portion of a way to build the spreadsheet itself for the make a pie model. We just did the cost piece. Let's do the demand piece right now. And if we bring this up, here's the cost piece. There's actually an index match situation. It's interesting if, and I'll start with this. If I type in match, well, we should type it in correctly, of course. Match something. In this case, it's M3. Match this cell, comma, and I have it across here and here. So where does X occur here? Where does this cell occur in the IJ range? And I want an exact match. That's a 0, an exact match. Close parentheses. Now let's see if I can close those parentheses up here. There we go. Put a little space in for reading. And that says 2. What does the 2 mean? In this range, that's the first element. That's the second element. That's what 2 means. Now, when we use this together with index, let's pop it in here. Index says find the value in another range. This range. Let's see if I can do that again. It's punching too many keys at the same time. In this range here, IJ at row 4. And the first entry after that says do it for row 1. Well, there is only one row here. Okay, so, but the second piece here where the match is the column. What column number? It wasn't 2. It wasn't 1, it was 2. So find this inside of that. And if we close the parentheses, there we go, 93. Now what happened here again? Match says find the element of X. Well, the X will refer to this lookup value. Okay, look this up over here. And if do it over here, it is a 2. That would be column 2. Report the value of IJ in column 2. Well, that would be 93.93. So that's basically it for index match. Very useful lookup function. Now we go on to demand. We are going to do a simple rise over run analysis. The back here in the questions, Simone Tortsier, who's the brains and heart behind Make a Pie Company, experimented supposedly with demand. Any price above $12, there will be 0 demand for her pies. but demand increases by about 4,000 pies per week for each dollar price decrease below $12. And here's an example. A $10 price would expect a demand of 8,000 pies. Now, we want to have a little algebraic model because algebra is what's all inside of, and the arithmetic behind it is all inside of this thing called Excel. So we have a demand worksheet, the maximum price, and demand at that point gives us 48,000. That will be this. There we go. 48,000 at price at a okay. That's what we would demand down here. Let's see if I can pull that up. It doesn't want to pull that up. Okay. So here's the first one. 0 at 12. Pretty straightforward. What happens at 11? What happens at 10? What happens at 8? And if we just draw the line, it's a 4,000. That's what the 4,000 increment is. $4,000 decrease. So we go from all the way up here. This is D6. This is literally the price. Price is 0. People would, it's a giveaway price. It would be 48,000. Then it declines by 4,000 from that each of these levels all the way down to here, and it hits 0 here. Yes, and that's natural. That's what is natural, meaning that's what's in the elasticity. Well, can we calculate a rise over run? If we know 48,000 is the intercept of this equation, demand volume is equal to an intercept plus a slope term times price. Well, it's the rise, the demand rise over the price run. So how can we compute that very quickly here? It's a ratio. H14. What's H14? So here, H14. You can take this 4,000 minus H13 divided by J14. Sorry, I14, that's I. I14 minus I13. So it's the rise. Notice it's negative. It's a negative slope. This roof is pitched in this direction. For a positive 1 unit change, you get a negative 4,000. I think we could have figured this out in our heads, but this gives the complete story of it. And if we were to write a regression line with this, again, taking this schedule, in other words, there's a lot of ways to do this. And we can even format that trend line. We can create whatever line we want in here, but the equation, remember, display the equation, gives the same equation. Okay, so we have a double, if not a quadruple piece here. Now, both the cost and the demand are going to be fed into a profit sheet. And this is a calculation sheet. It takes a price from a sensitivity analysis Well, what is that? Let's pull up the sensitivity analysis. The sensitivity analysis is the maximum price, maximizing price, not the maximum price. It's the price that maximizes profit. And we can see from this sheet, which we will do next, that the maximum profit is 23,000. There it is, maximum profit. And that the price associated with that is 938. And guess what? We're going to use index match again. A little bit different than before. To find the row, you don't need to find a column. To find the row, same row that the maximized profit is in, find that value of that row for the pie price. Whatever that number is fed here. And then the dashboard fills in these three assumptions, which are similar to what the client wanted, but now the client can change the assumptions. And where does that come from in the dashboard? Comes from over here. Now let me pull this away here so I can get rid of that shape. Now you can see everything. So the 390, if I right click on that and move it up, you see there are two values here. One is a 3. The other is the value along the, see it changes? Okay, now what if I make this, start here at 2. You see a radically different situation. You need to play around with this a little bit. What is the maximum? Right back to that $3. So if I start at 250, oh, I get my $3.50 right there on that node. If I start with 3, I centered it around. Let's try this again. That's a $4. You see, I make no profit at that point. Not, it's very little, almost it's negative, and it's not much at all. So there is some sensitivity here. These numbers need to go somewhere else, and I'm just going to travel them over like this. I'm going to do a Control X. Control X. You see it vibrate there. And I'm going to put it into another thing. It's in the plot setup. I'm going to put all my setups here. Let me just put it here in I. And I will label this the setup for, let's see where it comes from originally. Billing cost pie comes from the profit sheet. I want to get it from its native territory as much as possible. And there will be 3 of these. Okay. And the dashboard now will report, let's just watch this. I might have to reset this. You'll notice this doesn't work anymore. So right click it. So now I can right click it again and go to Format Control, pop that up. You see a ref there. It doesn't know what to link up to. Well, we changed the link, and the link's way out over here in Plot Setup. And the link is right there. Say OK. Let's see if this works. Yep, it works. Works very nicely. So I can take this, maneuver it back into that space. Now I have referential integrity, sheet by sheet. And we would do the same for dough costs and fixed costs with the two underlying pieces here. Now notice this is now going to be equal to plot setup IJ J3, which is the minimum, plus an increment. Now if we go back and look at that increment in Format Control, we see the current value is given. That current value is deposited in plot setup. The minimum is 1. The maximum is 100. That's very, very typical. And then we dimension it to whatever we're looking at. We're looking at $3.48. Well, we need to take that increment 48, or in this case 41, and divide it by 100 to get the right dimension. We say OK. So that's how that will work from now on. And if we take the two pieces underneath this, and you'll see them appear all of a sudden, Control X, go to plot setup, plot them here. No, I don't want that. Look at what happened. It brought the whole thing over there. Reverse this using the undo button. And guess what I have to do? Just what I did before. I have to highlight this by right-clicking it. There we go. Click it again, move it. Take these items. Persnickety, isn't it? Control X, remove them from there, and put them here in the plot. Beautiful. Back to dashboard. So you can see that there's a lot of ways to make mistakes here. I happen to remember how to do this most of the time. Not all the time. Position it. I also want to format it because remember what we've discovered. There is a ref. One of 3 possible errors that can come up in all of Excel. Go back to plot setup. Here's that increment. Say OK. And then, of course, test it. This is called unit testing. Now, that's really huge. So I think the original one was 0.3. So let's start at 0.2. Oh, I don't, that means nothing. Okay. Let's get rid of that. So what are we going to do? We're going to go back over here to plot setup, where things are set up. Instead of 0.3, make this 0.2. Back to the dashboard. There we go, 39 cents. That's close to what it was before. And we can increase this to 95 cents. Increase this. See, it doesn't change the price. This gives confidence to the decision maker. Okay. Now let's do the same thing here. Let's maneuver these out. That was Control X again. plot setup, put them over here. Okay, and that minimum starts at an $11,000 fixed cost, and increment of 1. It's going to go from 1 to 100, which wouldn't change this very much. So we're going to need to dimension this to kind of center it at 12,000. Watch what happens. We do that. Plot setup plus 20. That'll give the right interval. You have to play with these. There's one more thing we're going to do. Okay, is I am going to shift all of these no, I'm going to do this. I am going to shift all of these now that I know how to compute them over here and out to plot setup. I'm going to shift them all back over here, and you'll watch this change. Now how will this work? I need to shift this again back to plot setup. I'm going to put them right here. These will be the results. I'll label this properly and format it properly, and we'll call it quits for this one because this is enough. So I'm back to the dashboard. I am going to shift these out, put these over here. They'll turn up green, of course. And then I see this is the way modularization works. You've got to set things up in one place, do them in another. And to create the worksheet integrity, you have certain rules. One of the rules is in the dashboard, you don't want to calculate anything. I violated that rule horribly. But this is now going to come from, instead of there, look, it's going to automatically come from plot setup now. And then we only have to fix this. These are going to come from profit like they should have in the first place. Let me also color this green. Copy, Control C, Shift down arrow, Control V. And we're back in business. Now let's test it and see if it works though. Doesn't like that. Need to get rid of that little, I just did an escape to get rid of that. See? There we go. Had to get this thing moving. And I suspect this has a referential problem because it isn't operating. So back to format control, and sure enough, there was a ref problem I did not fix. So many things to remember. Back to plot setup. And not that one, but this one. Now this should be operative. There we go. It is operative. Excellent. I am glad that is done. Now, where did I get these from in the first place? I got these up here in developer. And if you don't have the developer ribbon here, you have to go to File, Options down here. Pick the right options, try Customize Ribbon. And you see that's checked there. You'll see that it's not checked. Check it in that right-hand box and say OK. And of course it appears. Go to developer. When you're there, you'll see Visual Basic, macros, record macro, a lot of things. But the one we're going to look at right here is called insert controls. And we don't want to use ActiveX controls, which are very useful, but often verboten by most IT organizations. And we pick one of these, probably spin button. Let's see if that looks right. And you see a little cross appears. It's going to ask you to dimensionalize it. There we go. Nope, that's not the one. Must be the other one. How can one possibly remember all these things? I don't know. Scrollbar. I use a scrollbar. There it is. And when I right-click on it, I go to Form Control, and it asks me a bunch of questions. What's the minimum value? What's the maximum value? What's the increment? It's going to make 101 of these in between 100 moves in between 0 and 100, and a cell link. All of those things. Let me get rid of this. Don't need it. Right-click it. Cut that one out too. Save the work. Control S. Should have done that before. And we've almost fixed this dashboard. Okay, I hope this was helpful. We will come back and look at other things to do with plot setup and the rest of the building of this first week model. Take care, and as always, thank you very much for your kind attention.